T-minus 25 hours and counting down to the start of the 2025 college football playoff. Game 1, Alabama at Oklahoma. Kickoff a little after 7 o'clock Central Time on Friday night. It is now Thursday night in chilly, rainy Birmingham, Alabama. The Alabama football team is now in the state of Oklahoma, I believe, getting ready for the biggest game of Kalen DeBoer's tenure in Tuscaloosa, which will extend beyond this year. We talked about that the other day. And we're coming off the top rope right at the start. No ifs, ands, or buts, no asterisks. Alabama is better than Oklahoma. I don't care what happened on November 15th. I don't care what happened a year ago in Norman, Oklahoma, when Jalen Milroe was the Alabama quarterback. I don't care about any of it. I only care about what happens tomorrow night in Norman, Oklahoma. And I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, and I'm going to tell you why it's going to be different than what happened in Tuscaloosa on November 15th. That's our purpose. That's our mission tonight on Scarbo Knows. So let's get to it. Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Scarbinsky, a.k.a. Scarbo. Appreciate you joining us, as always, here on the Sidelines.live network with the extraordinary executive producer Brendan Martin at the helm. Thank you to our sponsor, Money Management Services. They've been in business in Birmingham since 1992. Any financial help you need, the Rice family can provide it. They're a family-owned, fee-only financial services firm, which sets them apart. They've been in business, as I said, since 1992, a rather special year in Alabama football history. Could another special postseason run in Alabama football history be about to commence? We'll see. We'll hear more from the Rice family later in the show. All right, let's get into it. The playoff does start tomorrow night. Not that there's been an extraordinary amount of buzz about it. Other things have gotten attention today. How about Will Muschamp getting back into the college football coaching business? He will be the defensive coordinator at the University of Texas again, teaming up with Steve Sarkisian. Of course, Muss was at Texas. He was the coach in waiting there before Florida swooped in and made him a head coach in the SEC. I always thought, and you can find tweets. Well, I don't know if I had Twitter at the time. It was right about the cusp of my beginning relationship on Twitter. And I was very complimentary. I've always been a big Will Muschamp fan, known him for years and years. I thought he would make a really good head coach. Didn't turn out that way at a couple of stops. Never really got his offense right. But in terms of his work as a defensive coordinator, he's about as good as it gets. I wouldn't be surprised to see Texas back in the playoff next year. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Longhorns field an outstanding defense next year as Arch Manning, with another year of experience, picks up the offense. So I think Texas is probably primed for a big year next season. And then Nick Saban, every time he opens his mouth, the man makes news. And he joined the parade of people led by, I guess if this is a parade, Joel Klatt would be one of the clowns on a tricycle, maybe one of the Shriners on one of those cars that spins around and around and around. When he dissed, how dare he, the NCAA basketball tournament earlier in the week, made some really unfortunate comments. You cannot compare basketball and football, different animals. But you can relate to the idea of the Cinderella. And Nick Saban piling on to the idea that we don't want no Cinderella in our college football playoff. We don't want no James Madison or Tulane muddying up the waters. Nick Saban today on the Pat McAfee show said he would rather see Notre Dame playing in this playoff rather than James Madison. He compared James Madison to a triple-A baseball team, and he said, we don't let triple-A teams into the World Series. It's not the equivalent of that, Nick. You should know better as a New York Yankees fan. until further notice, until the top 30 or 40 football schools do what they appear primed to do at some point and pull away and erase more of what made college football special in the first place and turn themselves into the NFL light, James Madison is a member of the Football Bowl subdivision, just as Notre Dame is a member of the Football Bowl subdivision, just as, I don't know, pick a random school. Northern Illinois is a member of the Football Bowl subdivision. Northern Illinois 16, Notre Dame 14, just in from the 2024 season. Just as, say, Louisiana Monroe is a member of the Football Bowl subdivision with our friend Bryant Vincent as head coach. And if we remember back a few years, I remember a score of what Nick Saban called a catastrophic event. Louisiana Monroe 21, Alabama 14, back in 2007. UAB is another member of the Football Bowl subdivision. I seem to recall in the year 2000, the first year Nick Saban coached at LSU, UAB went to Baton Rouge, and Rhett Gallego kicked the last-second field goal, and the final score was UAB 13, LSU 10. All of those schools are members of the Football Bowl subdivision, Nick. You should be well aware of it. Maybe you should go back and re-listen to your tin horn rant after Georgia Southern ran for 302 yards against your 2011 national championship team at Alabama. And we are going to actually reference the 2011 Alabama national championship team a little bit later as we get into this playoff opener, this Alabama team, this rematch. And we can't do that without at least flashing back to what happened on November 15th of the year 2025. Let's look at that when Alabama fell to Oklahoma. Now, if you didn't see the score and you just looked at the box score, you would be scratching your head because you would see this. Advantage Alabama in category after category after category. 11 more first downs the Crimson Tide had. Why did I just talk backwards like Yoda? 188 more passing yards the Crimson Tide rolled up. 6 more rushing yards. Neither team harkened back to their old wishbone days on the ground, but Alabama did run for 6 more yards than Oklahoma. And by the way, Daniel Hill had 60 yards in that game. And Jam Miller added another 27. Alabama got 87 yards out of its tailbacks. If they can get over 100, which I think is possible, they're healthier up front and in the backfield. That's going to help them go a long way towards winning that game tomorrow night. 194 more total yards for Alabama in that first game. They were better on third down. Alabama was 5 of 13. Oklahoma was 3 of 13 on third down. Alabama had 2 fewer penalties. It wasn't a big issue in the game. Oklahoma had 5 flags. Oklahoma had only 3. And time of possession, Alabama owned the ball for 8 minutes and 56 seconds longer than Oklahoma did. And so, as you look back at this game and you try to project what might happen tomorrow night, you think, how did Oklahoma win this game? Well, let's look at exactly how Oklahoma won this game. Next slide, please, Maestro. How did OU win? Turnovers. Turnovers. One in the first quarter, which happened to be an 87-yard pick six. That gave Oklahoma a 10-0 lead and put Alabama squarely at the bottom of a hill, pushing a big rock up that hill. Second quarter, Oklahoma punches out a punt return. Ryan Williams, not the main punt returner for Alabama, but he was back there to try to make something happen, and it was really just a great play by the Oklahoma coverage team. They punched the ball out. The Sooners recovered. 2 plays later, John Mateer runs in from about 20 yards out, and Oklahoma extends its lead again to 10 points, 17-7. And then late in the third quarter, Oklahoma, one of its 4 sacks of Ty Simpson was a strip sack. It was deep. It was in Alabama territory. They didn't move the ball very well. The Alabama defense stood up and forced them early in the fourth quarter to kick a field goal. And Tate Sandell, the best kicker in America, he just won the Luke Rosa Award. He made a relatively easy field goal for him. He did boot a 52-yard laser earlier in the game, but he kicked one more field goal early in the fourth quarter, gave Oklahoma a 23-21 lead, which turned out to be the final score. And so, yes, Oklahoma beat Alabama for the second time in 2 regular seasons as a member of the Southeastern Conference. And Brent Venables, who has been a thorn in Alabama's side going back to his days as the Clemson defensive coordinator, seems to have Kalen DeBoer's number. Some people might think that. Some people might tell you that. And the results of the last 2 games between them would certainly suggest that. I'm going to suggest something different. I'm going to suggest that Alabama team that you saw on November 15th is not the Alabama team you're going to see tomorrow night in Norman, Oklahoma. I'm going to suggest that the Alabama team you saw in Atlanta in the SEC championship game against Georgia is not the team you're going to see in Norman, Oklahoma. This team is healthier. This team has had a chance to rest. This team has had a chance to get some of the players back who didn't play in the last few weeks, and to get some of the players who played barely, bravely, courageously, to get them healthier so they can be more productive. And as always, we can't talk about any big-time college football game, especially in the playoffs, without talking about the quarterbacks. And I would say to you that there is no comparison at the quarterback position. That Ty Simpson is far better than John Mateer. And yes, I have seen Ty Simpson's regression as well. And I would suggest that no player in America, no quarterback in America, has needed this time off more than Ty Simpson because of the punishment he took over the last month of the season, really throughout the entire season. And people have forgotten that gauntlet that Alabama ran through in October, late September into October, through October, the 4 straight games against 4 ranked teams on 4 consecutive Saturdays, and they went 4-0. And that is something that no other team in America faced, so no other team accomplished a run like that. But it came at a price, particularly the Missouri game in Columbia. Ty Simpson took a lot of punishment that day. And that continued against LSU's defense, against Oklahoma's defense, against Auburn's defense, and against Georgia's defense. That extra game that most teams, including Oklahoma, didn't have to play because they didn't make it to their conference championship game. So Ty Simpson needed this time off. He said this week that he's healthy. Now, he wouldn't say otherwise if he weren't. And we'll find out for sure when the Oklahoma pass rush gets after him, and it will get to him at times. If Alabama can limit that, it's going to go a long way toward the Crimson Tide winning that game. But let's look at a comparison of these 2 quarterbacks. Let's look at their numbers both in that head-to-head game and throughout the season. Again, no comparison. In that game on November 15th, Ty Simpson was 28 for 42 for 326 yards, becoming one of a number of quarterbacks that have lit up the Oklahoma secondary and thrown for over 300 yards. He threw 1 touchdown, and as we already said, that 1 pick six, which was a killer. John Mateer, by comparison, was 15 of 23 for 138 yards. Those are Jackson Arnold type numbers. He did not throw a touchdown pass. Most importantly, he did not throw an interception. Now let's look at the season. Again, advantage Alabama, advantage Ty Simpson. Simpson was 275 for 428, completed 64% of his passes, a little over. John Mateer, 221 for 356, about 62% in completions. Not a huge difference there. The yardage, a bigger difference. Simpson threw for 32-68. Mateer threw for 25-78. And now, to be fair, Mateer was hurt. He did suffer that hand injury against Auburn in September, and he has never quite looked the same since. He missed some time, so obviously he didn't throw as many passes as Ty Simpson. He didn't complete as many, and he didn't complete as many for as many yards. But here's where it really gets interesting. Touchdowns to interceptions. And this is factoring in that Ty Simpson has dropped off in this category. He was really strong earlier in the year. He threw 26 touchdown passes to 5 interceptions. Pretty good, not great, pretty good. John Mateer threw 12 touchdown passes and 10 interceptions, +2 compared to +21 for Ty Simpson. Again, no comparison. And look at their ranks in the SEC, along with the Trinidad Chamblises, the Joey Aguilars, the Diego Pavias, the Peyton Mannings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Did I say Peyton? I think I did. Is it past my bedtime? No, it's not. Arch Manning, of course. Apologies if I said Peyton earlier when I meant Arch. Arch is not Peyton, but you already knew that. But let's look at the SEC rank of Ty Simpson and John Mateer in several key categories as passers. Passing yards, Ty Simpson finished second in the conference. John Mateer was 9th. Completion percentage, Ty Simpson, this really dropped off, this number. He finished 9th in the conference. John Mateer was 12th. Touchdown passes, Ty Simpson was 2nd in the league. John Mateer was 13th. Interceptions, Simpson 7th. John Mateer 15th. And quarterback rating, Ty Simpson is 6th in the SEC. John Mateer is 14th. 1-4. No comparison. And so while Ty Simpson has not played his best over the last month, his November was not nearly as productive as his October. I have a feeling we're going to see October Ty Simpson rather than November Ty Simpson on December 19th, about 24 hours from now, 25 hours from now, 24 and a half, if you're looking at the clock as I am. But there's another reason, besides the fact that I fully, strongly believe that Alabama is a better football team than Oklahoma. When you look at, there's not really much to go on. If you look at common opponents, they each played 1, 2, 3, 4. They played 5 common opponents, all within the conference: Auburn, South Carolina, Tennessee, Missouri, and LSU. They beat each of those teams. Interestingly, the margin of victory is very, very close. Alabama beat those 5 teams by a combined total of 41 points. Oklahoma beat those 5 teams by a combined total of 47 points. So not much to choose there in the common opponent arena. But, like I said, this Alabama team will have Josh Cuevas. Little intel for you: when Alabama got to the airport to jet to Norman earlier today, Josh Cuevas was not in a walking boot. That's a good sign. When they played the Sooners the first time, Josh Cuevas was a very important weapon. He caught 6 passes for 80 yards and a touchdown. Parker Brailsford, who, that man deserves, well, do they get Purple Hearts for football? What would be the football equivalent of a Purple Heart? He deserves one. I don't know how he played in the Georgia game. Now, he's not going to be 100% against Oklahoma, but he's going to be a lot closer than he was against the Bulldogs. That is huge for Alabama. But beyond the fact that Alabama is healthier than it's been in a long time, it's fresher than it's been in a long time, it's had a chance to self-scout, it's had a chance to get some work in, fine-tune some things, come up with some tweaks, put in some gadgets, and you know they'll have them. Does Caden Proctor throw the ball against Oklahoma? You never know with Ryan Grubb. But I'm a big fan of history in general and football history in particular. And I recall the last time that an Alabama football team had an in-season chance at revenge. In other words, the last time the Crimson Tide lost to a team in the regular season and got another shot in the postseason, it was 2011, if you've forgotten, as we referenced earlier. And that team, of course, was LSU. We all remember the game of the century, November 5th, 2011, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. The two best teams in the country. Sorry, Oklahoma State. Sorry, Mike Gundy. Even though the final BCS rankings made it very, very close, clearly Alabama and LSU were the two best teams. So they met, one of the biggest games, regular season games we've ever seen in Bryant-Denny Stadium, and Les Miles and LSU, with NFL players all over the field, they managed to escape with a 9-6 victory in overtime. There were 0 touchdowns scored because most of those future NFL players that day on that field were defensive players. But an interesting thing happened after that game. Alabama fans were crushed. There were surrender cobras all over Bryant-Denny Stadium. There were frat boys and sorority girls crying in their beer or their smuggled in mini liquor bottles. But the Alabama players and the Alabama coaches knew something that the rest of us didn't. They believed something as they walked off that field that the rest of us weren't ready to believe. They knew and they believed they were the better team. Forget what the scoreboard said. Yeah, it said 9-6. Yes, LSU was still undefeated. Alabama had its first defeat. But Alabama knew it was a better football team. Alabama knew some key mistakes kept it from winning that game. And so, when the BCS gave them a rematch in the national championship game, this time not in Alabama's home field, not in Alabama's home state, not on LSU's home field, but in its home state, not that far from Baton Rouge, in New Orleans, in the Superdome, in the BCS championship game, what happened? Let's look at that, Brendan. Alabama showed the world what Alabama knew on November 5th. It was the better football team. And it left no doubt. It completely shut down the LSU offense. LSU didn't cross midfield until, the fourth quarter? Alabama kicked field goal after field goal after field goal after field goal after field goal, 5 in all, to get to 15-0, and then Trent Richardson broke free for a touchdown run. Final score, Alabama 21, LSU 0. Crystal football to the Crimson Tide. Alabama knew it when it walked off the field in November. It was the better team. It proved it on January 9th. I have a feeling that we're going to experience that kind of deja vu tomorrow night. Now, don't get it twisted. As my friend Bart Heitz likes to say, this Alabama team is not the 2011 Alabama team. There is no Trent Richardson in the backfield. This defense, as good as it has been, and I would argue that it is the equal, if at least the equal of Oklahoma's defense, is not the 2011 defense, which carried that team to a national championship, the second in 3 years under Nick Saban. So I'm not comparing the quality of this team and that team, nor would I compare the quality of this Oklahoma team to the quality of that LSU team, which was really only missing an elite quarterback from being a truly elite team itself. But the circumstances, the opportunity, this is very much an Alabama thing. If you're going to kill Alabama, you better make sure Alabama is dead. Because if you let Alabama have a second chance, if you give Alabama another opportunity, more often than not, history has taught us that Alabama will take advantage of that second chance and that second opportunity. And that's what they have on Friday night. And that's why, when it came time to make a prediction, I struggled with it. I went back and forth. I have much respect for Oklahoma, for that football team, for that defense, for Brent Venables, for Tate Sandell, the kicker, for the special teams, which really, if there's one decided advantage for Oklahoma in this game, besides the home field and the home crowd, maybe the home lighting, according to Jeremy Bernard, it is the special teams. And Tate Sandell is as good as it gets. Like I said, he won the Lou Groza Award, best kicker in the country, was 3 for 3 against Alabama, while Connor Talty was 0 for 1 for Alabama in that first game. I don't know if it's going to be that close. I suspect it will be. But I also, part of me has a feeling that, not unlike 2011, after a game that was closer than close, so close they had to play extra time to decide the winner, this game might not be as close. This game might not go down to the last play. But I had to make a prediction. We've done this for select games throughout the season. Let's look at it, Maestro. Prediction says Alabama 21, Oklahoma 16, because unlike the first time in Tuscaloosa, this time the better team will win. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Not just because I live in Birmingham, Alabama. Not because, despite the allegations of some Auburn fans, I'm a Bammer, or I write for the Bammerham News, which is now an online subscription-only publication, unlike the newspaper I worked for a long time, because that's what I truly believe. I believe Alabama is going to win this football game. Most of me believes it will be a close game. Part of me believes Alabama may surprise some people. They may shock the world. They may come out and score 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. I don't expect it. Nobody's done that to Oklahoma this year, that Oklahoma defense. I suspect it probably will be a close game. But I can't wait. I'm excited that the college football playoff is starting. I'm excited that there's a triple header on Saturday, that we get to see James Madison go to Oregon, that we get to see Tulane go to Ole Miss. The first of what we expect will be many meetings between John Summerall, who's moving on after this playoff from Tulane to take over at Florida, and Pete Golding, the new head coach at Ole Miss. So this will give us a little preview of SEC future in that game. And I'm excited. I'm not excited for the kickoff time. 11 o'clock on Saturday, Central Time. Miami, Texas A&M. Now, I would pick, of course, Oregon to beat James Madison. Of course, I would pick Ole Miss to beat Tulane. I have a feeling Miami might disappoint the Aggie faithful. That Aggie derangement syndrome, or battered Aggie syndrome. Sorry to let politics sneak in there. Battered Aggie syndrome is a real thing, and I have a feeling that another chapter may be added on Saturday. I have a feeling Miami may get that one. I wouldn't bet on it. I don't bet on college football. I don't bet on anything. But I will bet on this. We will be treated to some great football this weekend. And we're going to be treated to some great football throughout this college football playoff. And despite what Joel Klatt and Nick Saban and everyone else on that side of the aisle says, we should include the entire country in the college football playoff. And if you earn your way in as James Madison did, and you earn your way in as Tulane did, then you deserve to be there. You may not be there long, but you deserve to be there. I'm glad you've been here with me on this Thursday night. Appreciate your support. I hope you'll subscribe to the channel on YouTube. I hope you'll check out all the great shows on the Sidelines.live network. And I especially hope that you will check out our sponsor, Money Management Services, the Rice family, good friends of mine. They will take great care of you. That's all for me. You guys have a great night and a great football Friday. See ya.
Since 1992, Money Management Services in Birmingham has provided individuals and business owners with trusted, fee-only financial advice. We're more than advisors, we're your financial family. From retirement planning to tax strategies and estate planning, Our team builds personalized wealth management plans tailored to your life. At Money Management Services, we treat you like family because when you walk through our doors, you become part of ours.